crazy, I farted. Hit you with a stink bomb. Now it's bags down over backs down. Now it's going bullets going back. I'm the Matrix. Got me on this beat and I kick it. I kick it. I got me on this beat cause we spit it. You with it? You with me on this beat? You got me on this beat? Then we good, bro, we good, bro. Let's cool beans. All about that be junky. Keep me stunky, keep me funky like a monkey. Get off up on me. You don't wanna see me, you wanna do this thing. Let's roll. Hey girl.
Good evening. This is Epicurian. A tad late, but better late than never. Welcome to the show. Once again, my name is Epicurian. I'm the producer of the show. The things you will hear over the next 20 minutes, the length of the show, spot, is a total responsibility of the Epicurian, and it has no real reflection upon the status of River West production. The topic this evening, we will talk about what happened in Connecticut. It's been a lot of blame's been cast on various entities, but my premise is this: how can a child with any anomalies go through life to a high school for 12 years and be just, for lack of better words, just plain negligence with any type of anomalies that could not be addressed? You're paying professionals to do their job. Once again, how is it possible for such carnage to be created and to happen? And when you have alleged professionals in all schools to have assessment of children and write reports on that child. So now, society should be asking the question, as taxpayers, who is responsible? It should be the law enforcement officer after all. They're there to protect, true enough, but by the same token, I think the last time I was in school of higher learning, that a PhD in sociology and psychology is far superior to that is required by a law enforcement officer. And if this is true, then where does the responsibility lie? Where does the buck stop at? How is it possible you can cast aspersion and says, okay, now we're going to have law enforcement officers? Are you telling me now that you have PhDs in social work and I'm a psychiatrist, a medical doctor, and an environment at all time? Well, that's going to be a very expensive commodity. I understand as a journeyman, I think most people do, that you have to put a journeymanship in and consider yourself a journeyman. I think this is in all environments higher education is about. So now, if this is true, who's going to pay for it? Who will set the criteria for the monitoring and the recording of any anomalies that could allow it to propagate in such atrocities that is taking place upon society, just not in all the things that's happened in the last 10 to 15 years. And also, let's talk about the other carnage. 11,000 people get killed from handguns throughout the United States. What about those children that's doing the killing with those handguns? Once again, who is writing reports on these children to allow them to go out with such manifest hate that allowed them to do something that is so catastrophic? Where is the counselor in school? Are they blind? Or they just don't care? This is no reflection of the teachers themselves, because I think this is entirely discipline. You can't say someone is education, although they can make an input based on the things that they see. But that input is then passed on to the professionals with the discipline to make the necessary recommendation to whomever, the higher-ups, to bring about a change in whatever anomalies need to be addressed with that child that can be addressed. Because, as you know, it is against the law to practice any form of medicine without a license. It is against the law to teach. Just like any other professional, it must be licensed to be a professional, to be able to make those decisions. That you have the necessary expertise in the area so that you would not cast aspersion upon a person unjustly. It must be based on fact, not fiction. It cannot be subjective. It must be objective. this is my premise. And I think anyone out there is listening would also realize they have a premise. I like to believe your premise is predicated upon quality, not negligence. After all, they're your subordinates. They work for you. You're the principals. By being a principal, aren't you responsible for the mandates that your subordinates must adhere to? Society is large right to position guidelines for this position. They have a certain criterion mandates for them to be manifested, otherwise they could not be there. When do society step up and says, now is the time for you to be accountable for your actions? Now is the time. Because it is clearly obvious that things that's happened in the last 10 to 15 years and continues happening to 11,000 people a year with handguns, and they have done the children. I would say 98% of them. So how is it possible for people like a Ted Bundy, other serious killers that has rained carnage upon the United States, even a young man out of Wisconsin? How is this possible? Did he slip through the cracks? It's a lot of mothers that are crying tears of steel that will melt my hands like hot wax tonight because of someone's negligence. And my premise is this: how can these children grow up, be all of these bad things that we too heinous to even think about that they do to people in society? Please ask your subordinates, what are they doing? How are they doing it? Are you qualified to doing? Can you sit down and tell me if there are any anomalies that you can detect? Do you think I should take my child to a psychiatrist and before a tribunal, whatever it may be, to make sure that we're on the same track, quote unquote, whatever his anomalies. But let me say this to you, as you know as well, we all have anomalies, some to greater degrees than others. We talk about the 4 basic personalities and how they relate into this. Everybody knows the caloric side being caustic, phlegmatic, insinuant with melancholy is a part of that equation. That's 4, 25% in each quadrant. You must have a balance between all 4 basic personalities. But if you have a deficiency of 60% in each one of those, we have a problem. There it is. Whom is talking to you about these alumni? Whom is telling you about the 4 basic personalities? Whom is telling you what they mean and why? Talking about you, I wonder. Where are these people at? When you have council meetings or parents' meetings at your local schools, what are they just giving you, platitudes? That's what they're doing? I mean, we have a word for that in business, and I think you know not to repeat it, but it's called sucking up. And I think that's a bad thing, to suck up a subordinate to a principal. And I think as a parent, you should look and wait a minute, hold it. Don't placate me. I'm not interested in your subservient attitude. But yet, don't be ostentatious, because I will not tolerate that. Give me fact, not fiction. Because I like to believe every mother and father would like to know, based on the professionals that's sent every day, allege, to tell them if there's any anomalies in their child so they can correct it before it becomes catastrophic. I'm asking the mothers and fathers in Milwaukee County and the world at large, please, at your next parent-teachers meeting, ask the questions. Let me see the report that says my child is, quote unquote, 90% with a 10% marginal imperfection in his personality. That's good, because as you know, a lot of us couldn't even muster that. So that being said, if they break it down to you from a scientific point and indicate to you that this is what they should be done, then that allows you to seek an opinion from another professional. That's a psychiatrist normally, because he's a medical doctor or she's a medical doctor. And they can take it before a tribunal They can look at the MRI, see is that anomalies in the brain that will cause such imbalance and the potential catastrophicness that can take place if it's not corrected. So what I'm saying is, use an analogy, maybe it sounds morbid. How would you, ladies, like to go to OBGYN? This OBGYN puts you in steroids. And you turn around and say, you know, lady, I really know nothing about your anatomy. Got grease on his finger. They said, but I'm going to examine you and I'm going to treat you like a combustion engine. You would go to 0 to a centillion. That's 300 zeros in 1/10 of a second. The audacity for him to try to perpetrate a fraud upon you like that, insult you, and be so demeaning. That makes you question, why can't you demand that same expertise of the guiding counselors, the one that's in charge of school district uses a PhD? Why can't you say, what is your program? What are you using to detect any anomalies within my child, if anything? Because it's important for me to know what you're doing and why. It's imperative for me to understand if there's some anomalies that I should be addressing with my child. Because I do not want to cry tears of steel. I do not want my child to hurt someone. I want to be responsible. I want my child to grow up and be responsible as well. And before I leave you, I have a friend, because my time was short. We was in a business meeting tonight. I have a gentleman, friend of mine, which I do believe he has a good deal to say. And I would like for him to say something tonight. This is the man that's also known as Mr. Demi-mondaine, the French word for someone that's and I think you understand. So with that being said, Mr. Charismatic, please address society at large.
Well, I thank you for the compliment. I do. Well, we're talking about our children's. And I caught the latter part of your conversation, as elegant as it was, that, why haven't someone stepped forward and said that, there's something wrong? Yes, our school systems and other personnel that we take our child around, who are supposed to be looking after their health, where the school is supposed to educate them. But in the process of educating someone, you have to understand someone. Because if you don't start to understand someone, you can't educate them. It's not like you're standing up in front of a classroom and throwing words out and letting it fall by the wayside. And seemed like school system have turned into that. But to teach someone, you must know that person. You must know that child. You must understand their capabilities. And in the process of understanding their capabilities, you would know if there's something was wrong. If their child behavior indicate that they do not work well with others, and I see some of you proudly wear that on your shirts and stores and stuff of that nature. And I look at you and I say, yeah, buddy, I could believe it too. Because most of you will wear it, the way you look, the way you act, and just saying it on yourself, yeah, you have problems. You're capable of functioning in this society. Well, we're all capable of functioning in this society almost. That's what they call the norm, being able to function in this society. But to truthfully function in this society, I guess you have to be a little bit crazy. So would that mean the person that does these catastrophic things, if you're already crazy to be in the norm, they would have to be insane. And to be so, someone would have to know. Now, we ain't going back to the dark ages where man would look at himself and say, we'll keep it closed within the house. Don't let the neighbors know. That's what caused the problem. Oh no, not my child. No. Don't say nothing bad about my child. Get off the guilt trip that you brought into this world, a psychological killer. Stop the guilt trip. Face it. If your child has problems, face it. Because you are at ground zero. Your school system is first base. Well, we already know ground zero ain't working too well as we look into our society. Because most people train their dogs better than they train their kids. But, now that's my opinion, not this radio station. But, if you don't look at your child and take care of your child, then you expect someone else to do it, and when they don't do it, and then it falls by the wayside and someone gets hurt, then you're the first one to holler foul play. Or you're the first one to say, well, he wasn't really that way. Or you're the one to say, yeah, we knew he was like that, but we didn't know it was that bad. You know? So everybody knows. Even all your relatives and kin know how your childs are. But you keep it in the family, because anything that seems like it's out of the norm, or that your genes went wrong, well, maybe they was too tight, or any of them other phrases, and the thing didn't come out right. But needless to say, you know, someone knows, but you won't say nothing, so that person can be helped, so that person can be brought back into maybe a realm where they can suffice themselves. And when this child, basically when I, for my age, he was a child, they killed the child's and his mother. She knew what was happening. She knew what was going on. And unfortunately, she paid the ultimate price for it, because she was killed by her own guns. So if you looked at that too, there was something wrong with her to have that many automatic weapons. So if she was already messed up, somebody didn't catch her, so she didn't catch her son, but her son caught her and 20 other little kids. But under that note, I'm going to have to turn you back over to the radio host himself. But I do thank you for letting me come on here and voice my opinion.
Shout out.
Do I want to do a shout out?
Yes, shout out. Remember that.
Hold on.
You're just going to do a shout out for a particular one. A shout out to a particular one you told last night.
To who?
You got a telephone call for a shout out.
Oh, I did?
Yes. A lady, that's all I know.
What, today?
You're supposed to do a shout out tonight. You got the telephone message last night.
Oh. Well, I guess I'm supposed to do a shout out to someone that I'm supposed to shout out to, but they don't know who I'm supposed to do the shout out to, but the shout out's supposed to be shout. So I say, I shout out to whoever put the shout out, who asked me to do a shout out, and I don't know which way to shout out, but it's a shout out. So you know who I'm shouting out to? You know, you didn't make it on the radio, but you did make it on the radio, theoretically, because I'm doing the shout out to you. So if I didn't use your name, I'm sorry. But if you got a 10, I'm the man. And shout out to you.
Well, my time has come to an end for the night. This is the Epicurian. Just do one thing for me. It's very important to understand valor. It's a very precious commodity. Integrity is a personification of virtue. So please, mandate that of others that you mandate for yourself. Never expect things from others that you can't mandate for yourself. And always remember, the doctor who has himself for a patient is a fool. Don't be a fool like me, because I pretended to be a doctor on myself once, and it was catastrophic consequences. So, with that being said, shalom, my friend. See you on the radio. Good night.
Yes.
Cut this off.
Direct slider.